get started here. Obviously, we have Nevada represented, Coach Brian Polian in his third season, as most of you know. A 10th bowl game in 11 years. Very impressive. Coach is joined by two of his players. To his right there, Jordan, senior linebacker, 90 tackles this year. Very impressive, 48 solo, and 2 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown. To Coach's left, James Butler, sophomore running back, 8 touchdowns this season, nearly 1,200 yards on the ground with a long of 91 yards.
Got caught.
With that, we'll throw it open for opening remarks from Coach and the players, and then go to Q&A.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to be here. I don't want to get too close to the mic because I know Coach Bobo has been, he and his family have been under the weather a little bit. I almost looking for some Purell up here. Because if I bring it home to my two little ones, my wife is going to choke me out. We're excited to be here. We're grateful to be here. I know that there was a time when the bowl matchups came out, both on a national and on a conference scene, everybody kind of raised an eyebrow at this one. I can assure you from our perspective, that didn't change how we felt about the opportunity to play in a bowl game. We were excited to be invited here to Tucson. I think it would have been a little bit different had it been a team that we faced this year. But the fact that we did not face Colorado State on our regular season schedule, and frankly, the fact that there was a coaching change. We played them in a really highly competitive ball game last year in Reno, but that was under Coach McElwain. And so it is almost like facing a brand new opponent because in a lot of senses they are very new to us. It's, the personnel we think we have a sense of, but the scheme-wise, there's a lot different from it was a year ago. So it truly has been in a lot of senses bowl prep where you're studying an opponent that you don't really know very much about. We've had a great experience. The folks that have hosted us and run the bowl have been fantastic. I've been to enough of these things to know that the focus as a coach is how do they treat your players, and are the players enjoying a great experience, and how's your wife doing? And if those two groups are happy, then I'm good. So our families have been treated wonderfully. Our players have been treated wonderfully. And like I said, we're very grateful to be here. So with that, I'll let our two guys add anything more if they'd like.
Yeah, Coach couldn't really say it much better. We're grateful to be here. We're happy to be here. Really happy that we get a chance to play in a postseason game. From what I can see on the team, all the other players feel the same way. We've been treated great here. The hospitality's been great, and we're ready to play.
Yeah, it's really nice to be in Tucson. We've seen a lot, different types of things, and we've been treated really well here. And it shows that, that this bowl really cares about us.
I guess with that, we'll open up to any questions anybody's got.
Hey, Coach, since it's been so long since you've played, what are the things that you worry about staying sharp on the team? Are there things that you kind of hone in on in these practices, considering the length?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, most of our tie-ins as a league, those games are played before the holidays. And I've had to lean on my experience at places like Stanford and Texas A&M and Notre Dame where I have experience on staffs that played games in late December, January. There are pros and cons to both. The cons to playing that early game that we did last year, and I believe Colorado State did as well. I believe they played last year before the holidays. You're fighting finals. Like last year, we had 20 guys took their last final in New Orleans at the bowl site. Had to have the faculty athletic rep had to be there to proctor the exam. So now you're trying to battle with their attention, both on school and the football part of it. And everybody talks about how valuable these bowl practices are in terms of developing your younger players. Well, you really don't get that many when you're playing on December 19th, because you still got to recruit and do the other thing. The pros to playing a little bit later, we got, of the 15 allowable practices, we got 14. And it really felt like we were able to spend some time going back to basics at the beginning, fundamental football, not necessarily game planning. And then it allowed us, a reasonable amount of time to study the opponent, still finish up recruiting the way that we wanted to in the contact period. And now your concern is shaking off the rust. I mean, we haven't tackled anybody to the ground in a while. Cut blocking, things like that. And frankly, a concern of mine has been just our conditioning. I felt like we're an in-shape team this year. I thought we showed that, but you got to keep that going, because a month, you can lose it in a month. And so the conditioning part of it with our strength and conditioning staff has been a point of emphasis here as we've had this long break. And then frankly, making sure the snow wasn't on the practice field, because we had a white Christmas in Reno. So I know in Fort Collins that's standard operating procedure, but for us, it's been a decent winter. So we were out there sloshing around a couple times. If not the most, in the top 2 or 3. He's incredibly talented. I think Coach Bobo is doing a really good job of moving him around the formations in terms of trying to isolate him and give him chances to make plays. His production's down a little bit from where it was a year ago, but that doesn't mean he's not as impactful. The one thing I do see is a little bit, in my opinion, a really more concerted effort to run the ball between this year and last. And I can see the SEC influence, having coached in the league for a year and seen a lot of those offenses, to see a fullback on the field in our league. So now there's 2 teams that put a fullback out there, Colorado State and San Diego State and Wyoming. So, I mean, in our league, to see a fullback out there and running power and counter and all the different ways to use him, I can see Coach Bobo's influence on the offense, but that doesn't change the fact that Higgins is one of the best players in the league, and you have to know where he's at.
Hey, Jordan, you've seen it, I think, already in like the early bowl season, tackling, special teams are playing big keys in games. Do you get a sense that your team is focused on those areas or still sharp in those areas?
Yeah, well, throughout the season, I mean, those are always areas of emphasis. Early on in camp, you focus on the fundamentals, especially everything else. And then throughout the season, you try to keep those touched up. But as Coach was saying, we've gotten more time to prepare for this bowl game. We got the 14 out of 15 practices, and we did go back to basics at one point, touch up on those things, especially later in the season. Like, it's been a while since we touched up on those basic fundamentals. We need to revisit those things in practice. And so, yeah, I do feel like we are ready and we're good in those areas.
When was last year's game, took that all away, and you guys fell behind and defense gave up some points, also you guys broke it down, offense gave some interception shot?
Yeah, I don't think the memories of last year's bowl game are weighing on us at all. We kind of have a saying around the program that we're 1-0 every week. So basically, coming into the first game of the season, we already put everything behind. We don't look in the past. We try to look forward. And, there's been times, you reflect back on recent games and stuff and think about recent games, but I can assure that no one is really thinking about last year's bowl game at all.
Jordan, as a senior, what would it mean to you to put a new trophy in that case back at home?
Well, it'd be at this point everything, because we didn't get a chance to play in the Mountain West Championship. I don't have a bowl victory yet, so I mean, winning a bowl game would be everything at this point, and is everything at this point. This is the last game for me, so being able to walk away with a victory tomorrow would be everything.
I think you touched on, you didn't feel like your special teams played well at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And you look at Colorado State and how they won that Fresno State game. How big a concern is that for you going into this one?
I think the special teams are an X factor in this game. I think these are 2 similar opponents. what was, I believe, a 10-point win at Fresno. I might be wrong, but a fairly close game, and 3 special teams touchdowns scored in the game. I mean, it won in the last game, so it's got our attention. The injury problems, quite honestly, I mean, there's no excuse. We got to play, but the injuries that we suffered throughout the course of the year really, they showed up in 2 spots. The offensive line had been essentially decimated at guard throughout the course of the year. And then the nicks and bumps and guys that were out a couple weeks here and there really manifested itself in the special teams the last 2 weeks, of the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. I think when we went out there again, and frankly, I have no problem saying, I mean, it cost us the Utah State game. I mean, it's a 4-point game where we allowed nearly 200 yards in returns and 7 points. And I looked out there, and of the 10 guys that would cover, if you take the kicker out of it, I think we were missing 5 that we had opened the season with. And some guys that you wouldn't, our fans wouldn't recognize, but really, really solid special teams players that really understood their role. We've gotten some of those guys back. Others had season-ending injuries, but going into the game, I believe that the King game is going to be an X factor, and we've got to, in my opinion, if we can play to a draw, then that's advantageous for us.
So can you talk a little bit of your offensive line, as dinged up as it was, to have 2 1,000-yard rushers on the season? What does it say about how that group kind of bonded together and made the offense work?
Well, I give it to the U and obviously Coach Hud, but we like to a style that says next man up, and we've really done that in the offensive line. They've had a lot of nicks and bumps, but whoever we put in didn't miss a beat, and the team and the offense, we all believed in them, so we just really tried to help them bring them along.
James, is there any competition between you and Don?
Not really. We really just picked each other up. But if I'm doing better in the game, then that's just gonna make Don want to play better. Or if Don's doing better, that's just gonna make me want to play better. It's really just whatever we can do to help the offense.
Does the running backs for us, I think, is one of the great things about college sports, and frankly, it's not been talked about enough, in my opinion. James came in as a true freshman from Chicago, Illinois, and Don was a junior, and Don was going to be our established starter, and it was clear in the first week of training camp that James was going to play as a true freshman, and instead of making life difficult for him, Don, as an older player, recognized his talent, recognized that it was going to be better for our football team, and welcomed him in and really took him under his wing. And they're connected at the hip. They're fun as you watch them interact at practice. And it's just, we talk about servant leadership and sacrificing yourself for the greater good of the team. And the reality of it is, either one of our backs, had we fed them the way a feature back in the league is fed, would have been in the top 2 or 3, because when you look at combined production, we go about every other series, and really to have two selfless guys like that has been special for us as coaches, and a great example to point at for our team, and frankly something that we point at in recruiting. What it truly means to be a servant leader. So we're gonna lose Don to graduation, but hopefully we'll recruit another good one, and James will show the leadership and the personal touch to take care of a younger player the way that Don took care of him when he arrived as a freshman.
James, what all have you learned from Don, and when you came in, especially last year, you wanted to play, but you didn't want to step on each other as a veteran guy?
Yeah, of course. Most freshmen, come in thinking they're gonna redshirt, but I was lucky enough to play. But yeah, just being around a person like Don, I learned skills like that, just to be a servant leader and put the team before yourself, and just because I'm a really emotional guy during the game, so Don calms me down. He whenever he's out there, I want to pick his brain. Whenever type of moves he makes, whenever he always says what I can work on. So he really picks me up, and he's really become like like my brother and like family, and like I know that I've got a friend forever now.
Jordan, one of the keys for the CSU offense has been avoiding lost yardage plays, being able to get manageable second and third downs. Is that a key for you guys tomorrow, to get some of those, to force some of those plays, and to force some longer second and third down?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think as a successful defense, that's basically always a key. And, you know, having the front four guys that we have and the depth that we have in the front four, I think that's something that's very advantageous. And I also think that's something that's going to breed a lot of those untimely situations for Colorado State. I hope so, at least. And so, I mean, yeah, we're always trying to get offenses off key because that's where we want them. We want them in their weakened state and where we can play strong defense.
Coach Boyd, I know Coach Hoffer is going to be calling plays in this game. Do you view this as any kind of trial for him or any kind of an audition for the offensive coordinator?
No. I've known the man 17 years. I know what he knows. It's not an audition. Now, that being said, my mind is not made up, to be honest with you. The one thing Jim's experience and my trust in him and our relationship has allowed is that it has allowed me to take my time in terms of addressing any changes that were going to come on the staff. I didn't feel any pressure to move quickly because I knew that throughout the course of the bowl game, our preparation in the game itself, we were going to be in good hands. So I've been able to take my time as it relates to how I'm going to handle staff movement going forward, but all of that has been put on hold until after the game, and we'll reconvene as a staff on the 30th briefly, and from that point, I will then begin to move forward with the decisions that I have to make. But I don't think it's fair to say that this is a job interview for Jim Hoffer. I've known the man way too long. He's forgotten more offensive football than I will ever know, and I want his focus on the game and not worrying about what's going to happen beyond that. You know, he's got a ton of experience, and we are going to look different. And we've had enough time now in preparation for Coach Hoffer to put his influence on it. And you know, the last time he called plays, he took Delaware to the national championship game, and did it with a lot of different looks and a lot of creativity. And I'm looking forward to what we do out there tomorrow, because it's been fun to watch here in this bowl preparation period.
What do you think it means to you to be able to take a trophy home and win a bowl game for the first time?
Yeah, well, yeah, it would be my first bowl win, but it's only my second try, so let's not make it sound like I'm 0 for 12 right now. The special thing for me is being with this group of seniors and, frankly, with this group of players. I love my in-laws, but I don't want to be with them around the holidays. I would rather be with the football team preparing to play a game. So, you know, Tucson compared to going back to Buffalo right now is pretty good. I think from a more global perspective for me would be, and if I misspeak, Chad will correct me, but I believe there have only been 3 bowl wins in our program's history. That now, obviously, there were a lot of 1AA playoff wins, but in terms of bowl games themselves, and that would be important to me. And frankly, the opportunity to finish a second consecutive season with a winning record is important to me. And knowing that we only have 12 seniors on this team, that I do believe we are still very young, and that we'll continue to improve and recruit. But you know, this is a very important game, you know, not for me personally, but for where I feel like we're going as a program. I want to say it was year 3 when Coach McElwain won in New Mexico to finish with a 7th or an 8th win. Was it year 2 or 3? And I remember him saying, you know, this is a sign. You know, we're headed in the right direction. And, you know, in a sense, I feel a little bit that way about this game for us.
Brian, I know what's fun for the bowl season for fans is the trick plays that seem to come out. How much concern is that for coaches?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I know Coach Hammerschmidt well. You know, a lot of the trickeration, it seems like, for CSU in the last couple of years has come in the kicking game. We've found every fake from the last 3 years. We watched the 2 punt fakes from the Washington State game from 2 years ago this morning. So, yeah, I mean, we're on high alert for that stuff. And like everybody else, I have some stuff on the play sheet. It's just whether or not I have the gumption to call any of it. So, but yeah, I mean, when you give coaches a month to get ready for a game, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna find stuff to come up with. So.
Jordan, as Coach mentioned, CSU's kind of taken on this physical persona. Do you guys like the challenges of defense of playing against an offense that you know is going to run the ball right at you guys?
Yeah, I think we do. And personally, as a middle linebacker, it's what I love. I love playing in the box. I love taking on lead blockers. I love taking on pullers. And I mean, defensively, we had some lapses when we played teams like this against Wyoming, against San Diego. But you know what? I think there were big plays, and I think for most of the game, we're gap fitting. We're playing our responsibilities well. So as a defense and as our middle linebacker, I think we're really looking forward to this.
Coach, I've been around this team, it seems like the last couple of weeks, this game and then yesterday and the day before, and it seems like there's kind of a very fun, lighthearted personality. They were dancing, they were cheering. Is that kind of the personality of the team? Can you talk a little bit about how this team operates together and the relationship?
We're a reflection of our fun-loving head coach. Our guys knew they knew all the words to a Journey song last night at the bowl event, which that does show my influence. That shows my musical influence and practice. I enjoy this group a great deal, and you know, it took a year or two for me to figure out what Nevada was about and how we were going to create an identity. Because obviously I was new. I was an outsider. We're never going to win the battle of stuff. You know, we're not putting a shovel in the ground to build a new stadium. I know that. We don't have a blue field. I know that too. We're not going to win the battle of flat screen televisions in the weight room. I tell recruits all the time, if you're looking for an iPod docking station in your locker or a waterfall in the training room, we're not your place. What we are is a really tight-knit group. We're a family, and we've worked very hard to create that. We are the Nevada Wolfpack family. We talk about that all the time, and in this day and age, to me, that's very important. The fact of the matter is, a lot of the guys that we recruit come from unusual family backgrounds, or in some cases, difficult ones. And we've worked very hard to create a family atmosphere. And I think when our guys are together, you can see that. They enjoy being around each other. They enjoy being around the coaches. We enjoy doing things together away from football. We went to the movies in bowl prep. We went back in Reno. We had a bowling night. There are things we'll do in the off season together. You know, we were together through the holidays and watching the way our coaches said, and their wives, frankly, said, all right, who needs a place? Let's go bring them over to the house. I think that kind of was symbolic of what we're about. And I like when our guys have a good time. I want them to be respectful. I want them to treat people the right way. But I also, you know, there is no such thing as a game face 48 hours before you kick off. I mean, they're here to enjoy the experience, to enjoy being in Tucson, the events that we've had. They're having fun. They're not hurting anybody. I'm good with it. I enjoyed watching them last night. It was fun to watch. The best part of last night was when the best bull ride of the night was a guy in a Nevada jersey, wore 55. Rakeem Yates wears number 55 for us, a senior defensive tackle, who has not been near any livestock in his entire life. I mean, he's from inner city Fresno, and to watch Rakeem yell and scream as this bull rider was wearing his jersey on top of a bull was a lot of fun. So.